Good morning. This is the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for Friday, May 8th. This will be our last smoke dispersion briefing of the winter and spring season. Fire potential briefings start this coming Monday. At this point, just Monday through Friday, going into a 7-day operation as conditions warrant. Looking at precipitation over the past 7 days on the left, you can see how bone dry it has been, not just for the past week, but for the past 2 weeks across most of Nevada, much of Utah, the Arizona Strip, just the higher terrain of the Uintas, the far northern Wasatch, and of course the higher terrain of western Wyoming and central Idaho had about a ½ inch to locally higher amounts of rain and maybe some mountain snow. But even that is below normal here on the right-hand side, and 0 to 10% of normal wherever you see that dark red color. So we have been drying out quite rapidly. You can see that in our fuels, 10-hour fuels. Here in the red are below 5%, 3 and 4% levels, and in the dark red, southern Nevada to the parts of the western Arizona Strip, 1 to 2% values of 10-hour fuels. We don't normally see that until we're in fire season sometime in June, and even up into parts of southern Idaho, 5 and 6% 10-hour fuels. That is quite dry. And our 100-hour fuels, and this is very telling. The areas in the red, this heart-shaped area across Nevada and parts of western Utah, below 5% on the 100-hour fuels, and in the single digits in a lot of these gold colors covering much of the rest of the Great Basin, shows how dry it is. And looking at our heavier 1,000-hour fuels, more typical of what's found in our upper terrain above 7,000 feet, you can see again kind of a heart-shaped gold color here across Nevada, parts of western Utah, and even parts of eastern Utah, and those are 6 to 10% 1,000-hour fuels, and that's again typically we don't see those numbers until we get into the middle of June, so we're about a month ahead of schedule. Satellite imagery shows clear skies across most areas. A weak disturbance moving into Montana should be brushing maybe parts of eastern Idaho, western Wyoming, some clouds. Otherwise, high pressure and warming and drying will continue across the region. A deep low pressure storm system in the Gulf of Alaska, not a major player until sometime early to middle part of next week. So here's our upper level map on the left hand side, high pressure building in. You see the drier air with the tannish colors. On the right hand side, we're starting to run our 7-day fire potential outlook, and you can see still moist and benign in northern areas, but starting to dry out in central areas and in the far south towards Vegas, Area 51, the Arizona Strip to Moab. Those areas now are critically dry, and we've had some reports of 50 to 100 plus acre fires in that dry, fine fuel down in those areas. On the left, transport winds will be fairly light. Most areas 0 to 10 miles per hour. Vertical mixing looks really good. Areas in the orange and red, several thousand feet above ground level. Saturday, high pressure ridge still building on in. So we'll see warming. Now you see this little moisture that's developing across northern Arizona. This we'll have to watch as it expands northwards, but for now they continue bone dry in our southern areas. Transport winds here on the left shows increasing southwest winds across parts of southern Nevada, and that's something we'll have to watch with those dry fuels. Otherwise, nothing significant wind-wise. Vertical mixing again, and any prescribed fire should have good vertical mixing. If any fire does develop, naturally it could develop a plume of several thousand feet. Now on Sunday the map changes. Remember that little area of moisture across northern Arizona? It moves northwards and expands quite a bit, and that should produce scattered shower and thunderstorm activity, wetting things down and cooling things off across much of Utah. Not so much in Nevada. They'll stay on the dry side and stay precipitation free. You can see that on the 7-day outlook where we see some browns turn to yellow and yellows turn to greens out here. But still staying quite dry with higher fire potential across parts of southern Nevada. And here's our concern on Sunday. On the left-hand side, ahead of that trough of low pressure, notice those belts of winds in the orange and pink shades. If you look at the legend on the left-hand side, those are wind gusts of 25 to locally 35 miles per hour, and with 10-hour fuels in the low single digits, along with very low values for 100-hour fuels, that will be a concern. Good vertical mixing. For any prescribed burning here in Utah, the clearing index for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, areas in orange and red indicate better vertical mixing, and notice how it improves day by day. Saturday actually should be Sunday here on the far right. Precipitation over the next 3 days only amounts here across the Arizona Strip into parts of Utah, basically a few hundredths of an inch to maybe a tenth of an inch. That'll be from that moisture and that scattered shower and thunderstorm activity that we'll see moving up from the south. It's quasi-monsoon. It's not really monsoonal, but just comes from the same direction. Otherwise, areas further west and north staying dry. Now, the weather map changes on Monday. Notice that that big low pressure system we saw off the Gulf of Alaska now drops down to just off the Pacific Northwest coast. Those green and dark green shades are areas of abundant cloud cover and moisture and showers, especially the darker green shades. That'll start moving into the northern portion of the Great Basin on Monday. And even below that, there'll be areas of increasing higher humidity. But it's in these far southern areas where the air is still dry and the winds will be increasing that we'll have to watch for a threat of some local elevated fire conditions. You can see on the 7-day the areas of brown have dissipated, but we still have yellow critical areas down here in the south, but moistening up here further northwards. And then notice by Tuesday, for much of Idaho, western Wyoming, far northern Nevada, and far northwest Utah, in the clouds and the moisture along with scattered showers, so they stay green through there. As we go into Wednesday, there's still lingering moisture through there. Higher humidity, that you don't see shades of brown in southern Nevada anymore, so the humidity is increasing. So we'll see that the Spring Mountains area actually turning back green. Still have some snow cover in the highest terrain. And then on Thursday, look how much moisture moves in now into the northern half of Nevada, most of Utah, western Wyoming, cloudy, cooler by next Thursday with probably widespread showers. And you can see that on the 7-day, and that should really mitigate fire potential, at least for a few days. Precipitation accumulation next Tuesday and Wednesday, very little south of the Idaho border, but north of it, about a tenth to a quarter of an inch, locally higher amounts of a half inch in western Wyoming, and even lingering showers in those northern areas next Wednesday and Friday. The 8 to 14-day outlook taking us from May 15th through the 21st. Temperature-wise, just showing near normal temperatures, but there is an above normal precipitation signature for most of the geographic area through here, especially the northern half of Nevada and going up into Idaho. So we'll see if the shower activity does continue. This concludes our briefing, and again, starting Monday, the fire potential briefing returns. Have a great weekend.